Now, Star Times columnist and best-selling author Matthew Syed is an expert in the field of high performance. However, in a vicious political climate characterised by trigger warnings and cancel culture, he's identified the modern trend that is stifling potential in the Western world, this being the ever-growing threat to freedom of speech. Intent on challenging the woke orthodoxy, Matthew has written a new book for children called What Do You Think?, where he encourages the next generation to, quote, agree to disagree and still be friends. Now, there's the thought. A former Olympic athlete and English champion in table tennis, Matthew seamlessly transitioned into one of the country's most popular and compelling writers, as well as a world-leading mindset expert and motivational speaker. And I'm delighted to say that he joins me now. So, Matthew Syed, I am such a champion of free speech. I am actually a free speech fundamentalist, and I very much worry about our kids, actually. So your book is to what? To teach them that it's okay sometimes to have an unpopular view?
Exactly, Dan, and thanks for that warm introduction. It's great to connect with you tonight. I mean, my sense is, taking a step back, in the 1970s and 80s, there was something called the self-esteem movement in education. And the idea was that if we protect children from failure, if we give them lots of easy success experiences, they'll develop lots of self-esteem and they'll go out to change the world. It was very well intended and completely flawed. The problem is you give children just loads of successes, they expect success, and they're likely to be more devastated when they eventually fail, which is what you inevitably do in the real world. Effectively, it gave them self-esteem that was fragile. What we really want young people to have is resilience, the capacity to stand up to the challenges and setbacks that are a part of life and learning. And I think we're going down the same incorrect path when it comes to speech. We try and protect children from difficult points of view, from challenging opinions, because we don't want them to be distressed. But of course, when they get out into the world, they're inevitably going to connect with these ideas anyway, and they're not in the position to deal with them and to courageously evaluate them. And so my argument in the book is, let's embrace free speech. Let's give children the opportunity to engage with difficult opinions and also to help them to understand it's okay to disagree. It doesn't mean you have to cancel the person with whom you are disagreeing. The great liberal tradition is that we learn from each other through open, respectful, rational debate. And I think we're losing some of that. But really, my book, Dan, is about the psychology of equipping young people with the confidence, the courage, the resilience to face up to this wonderful world in which we live, and I think is being undermined by cancellation and some of these other aspects that I think, like you, are so damaging to all of us.
No, and I love it. I love the concept, and I think it's so important. But I wonder, Matthew, how you think a teenager, for example, at school deals with the trans issue these days, especially when they are quite likely to have a teacher that is going to be on the woke side of the argument, shall we say. I mean, we have literally see students, female students, driven out of schools, expelled in one case, this is in a British school, for simply defending what would have been taught in a biology class a few years ago.
Well, being expelled for expressing a point of view is completely outrageous. I think the key with debates of this kind is to have some level of humility. That's to say that the world is complex, and some of the things that we believe today will be superseded by future inquiry. We might be wrong on certain things. If you think about our forebears, they got lots of things wrong on race, on gender. They thought that the Earth was the center of the solar system. That turned out to be incorrect. And I think if we're humble, we listen to other points of view, we can then reject them rationally if we disagree with them. But listening well and then saying, you know what, I've heard what you have to say, I disagree. I think we should be able to still be friends, to still inhabit the same classroom, to still allow people in the same school, even if they have a disagreement over trans rights. It is completely outrageous for people to be expelled or censored or edited on the basis of an opinion if it isn't causing physical harm. In that sense, I wouldn't quite describe myself as a free speech absolutist. I have a problem with incitement to hatred or to criminal acts and other things of that kind, but I think we should have as much latitude as possible.
Yeah, we really should. Matthew, how do you tackle the very thorny issue of social media? Because one thing where I feel so sorry for young people and teenagers today is the fact that things they post online, maybe to have a laugh, maybe because they're exploring a particular opinion, maybe because they're showing off to friends by using some particularly fruity language, we've actually seen that that can result in people losing careers or being publicly shamed when it comes to England cricketers, for example. What's your advice to them? Do they have to be wary of social media? Should they not be on it at all?
Yeah, so I think that parents should be wise about when they allow their children to engage with social media. I think trying to take children away from the internet and social media altogether is probably not a sensible thing. At some stage in life, it can be quite a good asset for community. We both use it, Dan, for communication and to connect with people. The question is, I think, helping young people to understand what these platforms are seeking to do. They're commercial organizations that make money by selling advertising. And the more you stay on the platforms, the more advertising they can sell, and they can harvest your data as a way of inducing advertisers to work with them. And therefore, often what happens is you're seeing more of what they think you want to see. That can suck you into an echo chamber. Just getting young people to understand that makes them more curious to seek out other points of view. When it comes to cancellation and the other dynamics that you've described, I think young people do need to be aware that everything that they say online leaves a digital trace that some not very fair-minded person could come to in years' time. So I think one should be cautious in expressing opinions online for that reason. But the other thing, Dan, I want to see more compassion. It is outrageous that an England cricketer expresses an opinion 10 years ago that cricketer has now decided is untrue and not reflective of their opinion, and yet they get sanctioned on the basis of what they said all those years ago. I think that is a violation of natural justice. And what it does, Dan, is it leads to self-censorship. Yeah. Why would one express an opinion today even if it was socially acceptable today, and then the moral culture changes over the course of the next decade, and you are retrospectively cancelled for that? We must have more. One of the great aspects of the Western moral tradition is compassion and forgiveness. We need much more of that in the online world.
Couldn't agree more. Matthew Syed, Star Times columnist, author of the brilliant new book, What Do You Think? Thank you so much, Matthew, for being here tonight.
Thank you, Dan.